everyone for joining the session. My name is Neda. I am Senior Vice President and Head of Artificial Intelligence and Automated Driving within the new Software X organization at Stellantis. Software X stands for Software Driven Experience. It's a new organization. It's about a year old. And for those folks who don't know yet what Stellantis is, you probably know our brands. So if you've heard of Jeep and Maserati and Alfa Romeo, Dodge, Peugeot, Citroën, 14 different vehicle brands. Stellantis is the new parent company of all of these. That was formed by a merger between Peugeot and Alliance and former Fiat Chrysler. So one thing that we do at Stellantis that I really like, we have this kind of about me slide to get any conversation going. So before I talk about all the technology, I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. So I take diversity very seriously. You know, at Stellantis, we have people and presence in 130 different countries. And that's a lot of different nationalities. And what I'm proud of is that I contribute to that diversity of culture and nationality as well. I'm originally from Serbia in Eastern Europe. You see here a couple of photos of my two heroes, Nikola Tesla, who is a Serbian-American electrical engineer, which I'm proud to say I am as well. And the tennis champion Novak Djokovic, who sometimes a weird guy, but you know, I really like his mental toughness. I really like his response under kind of high pressure moments in his professional life. So I think that that's something I look up to. But I'm also a citizen of Canada, of the United States. I've lived on different continents, have different experiences, and I bring that into my work life every day. And over on the right, you see my family, my husband and our baby. On the picture on the far right, you can see me and my baby in matching outfits that actually I designed. So I like to tell people about my family life. I like to tell them about hobbies I have outside of work. I tell that to engineers on my team as well. Look, like, bring your whole self to work. This is all about being a multidimensional person, and we should not hide that. You know, that in no way diminishes your capability or your interest in engineering. It actually just makes you more interesting and more real. My work history, I started out at NEC Labs America right after my PhD. That was a small startup within the bigger NEC, a bigger company, Japanese company with a lot of history. And so now I feel very similar, by the way. Software X is like a little startup within Stellantis. So I guess it's come full circle for me. But basically there we built a brand new technology that ended up in AI and machine learning systems and telecom systems. And what I really liked about working there is that I had a chance to also participate as an adjunct faculty at Columbia University Electrical Engineering 1 day a week. And so communicating, sharing information has been near and dear to my heart from the very beginning of my career. And after that, I went to Tesla. I worked on advanced projects within autopilot and infotainment systems, spent a couple of years there, then did something very similar at NVIDIA for AI and autonomous vehicles and computer vision. And then since October of last year, I've been at Stellantis doing AI for autonomous driving and cockpit applications to start, and now I have that responsibility extended to AI and all of autonomous driving. And if you want to learn more about Stellantis, I want to let you know that we will be having a fireside chat also, so please check that out. And you can learn a lot more about all the exciting things we're working on and the kinds of awesome hiring and recruiting efforts that we're doing. All right, so that was a little bit about me. Now let's talk about AI. So the question that I get a lot, especially from folks who are a little bit new to this whole concept, is what is it? So first of all, what is AI? How can I think about this? And I always like to go to the first principles of things. So I think that's what we should do here. Back in the 1950s, Alan Turing really defined what I think remains the criterion for what artificial intelligence is even today. And that is the ability of a machine to exhibit human-like intelligence. So if you saw a task happening and you were standing from behind a screen and you couldn't tell if a machine is doing that task or if a human is doing that task, that's what machine intelligence or artificial intelligence is. You know, back in the day, tasks were a lot simpler, right? So adding two numbers together, automating a routine task, that was artificial intelligence at the time, right? Now we don't really think of it that way. Now it's just like automation, right? Because the bar has moved up so much, right? Modern AI is a lot more advanced than you know, the kinds of tasks that could be handled back in the day. So modern AI with these deep neural networks is really modeled after the human brain. So we have these hundreds of billions of neurons and that are connected in these nonlinear ways with synapses, and they trigger once we learn and absorb certain contexts. And what we've done is model deep neural networks literally after that architecture, after those connections in the brain. And what you see here with this data chart is that what happens with modern AI that doesn't happen with older algorithms is that AI continues to benefit from larger amounts of data. With older algorithms that are based either on older forms of AI or not even based on AI, the more data you give them after a certain point, they saturate. They cannot continue learning. Whereas with deep learning, with deep neural networks, this modern AI, the capability to learn just keeps going up and up and up. And so in my world, these capabilities of the vehicle to autonomously perceive the world despite the complexities of the world, to navigate that world, all of that is enabled by modern AI. Otherwise, it's just too complex. And also, as an automaker, it sets you up in a really nice way, because the most powerful thing, to be honest with you, that is that the vehicle touches that world, that we have access to that data, that we can learn continuously from that. And so that's why for me, in what I do for AI, both inside of the car, so think of a proactive digital assistant, and outside of the car, think autonomous driving, this modern AI is so important. It's the technology that enables these capabilities. And looking at the mega trends in our industry, this is one of them. So AI, autonomy, that's a huge mega trend in our industry. And you see that aligned with other trends that we're seeing. So you see that mobility is going to be needed for a lot more people, that we're seeing electrification happen in a big way, that vehicles are becoming connected by definition. It's not the exception anymore, it's the rule, including 5G connectivity. So all of these things, the need for mobility, to give people their freedom back, the fact that cars are connected to the internet, meaning that we can collect that data and improve our capabilities continuously through over-the-air updates, all synergize with these increased developments in AI and autonomy. And so this is really playing harmoniously with the other huge trends that we're seeing in the industry. Now, what are we doing at Stellantis? What is our plan? What are we trying to accomplish with AI and autonomy? So for me, what's really exciting is that we're not conducting just a fancy AI and autonomous driving science experiment. We are literally at the core of the impact of our business. So what we are doing in developing these capabilities is directly geared at increasing revenue for our customers through really new and exciting software-defined AI and autonomous driving features in a big way. So leveraging the fact that these cars are going to be connected, that they're going to have more and more compute, leveraging the power of our iconic brands that I mentioned at the beginning to unlock brand new capabilities for the vehicle. And what do I mean by that? So what I mean by that is that in the past, things with a vehicle have been more geared at, okay, the product at the point of sale. So you buy the car and that's the main thing. But we want to unlock brand new opportunities here that don't even exist at the moment. So features on demand. You can download things onto your car in terms of, let's say, an automated driving capability just for your weekend trip, for example. Or the ability to increase your in-cabin proactive digital assistant response, for the cabin to become more and more adjusted to you personally based on, let's say, even your connected vehicle account through your phone, through the awareness of sensors that are on board the vehicle. All of these things are going to get unlocked with this new software-oriented approach and the enhancement of our AI and autonomous driving capabilities. So that's the vision of what we're trying to do, but then how is it actually accomplished? And now we look at the fundamental tech-first principles that allow this vision to come to life. What is happening inside of the car that makes this vision possible is that we are putting something called the Stella brain inside of every vehicle. And what this really means is that this is an AI computer. Traditionally in vehicles, there's not a large centralized computer inside of a car. That doesn't exist, but we're changing that. We're putting this inside of a vehicle with a lot of computing capability. And then that becomes really the brain that is able to power all of these applications that we were talking about just a minute ago. So Stella Auto Drive, that is our autonomous driving platform and product. Smart Cockpit, that's AI for inside of the cabin, like this proactive digital assistant that I was talking about. All of these run on a computer, just like you have on your laptop, but in this case, inside of a vehicle, and doing these amazing things in real time. I think something actually more amazing than what your computer can do. Your computer cannot perceive everything that's happening around it, but in this way, Stella Brain and Auto Drive and Smart Cockpit are going to be even more exciting. And we are rolling this out across our different brands. And so I think what makes it really exciting to work at Stellantis on this particular problem is that we have the ability to put this into some of the most iconic cars in the world. I mentioned Jeep, there's Dodge, there's Ram, there's Maserati, Alfa Romeo. I can't list off all of them, 14 different brands. I really encourage you to go online and to discover all the different brands that we have. But what is really, really exciting is building something that is going to support all of our different brands while also allowing them to differentiate themselves, show their unique value, their unique personality as well, which has been exciting. So we kind of get the best of both worlds. We get to build a technology that's going to be in millions and millions of cars in these super well-known brands, but also support their design vision, their unique brand value propositions and activities that set them apart from everyone else. And that's what's cool about something like AI, where you can personalize as well, so that your Dodge does AI in a Dodge way, right? Unique to its own brand values. Your Jeep does it in its own Jeep way. And I think that is a really powerful thing that can really enhance the power that these brands already have. Okay, so now going a little bit under the hood, taking you under the hood to really show you what this looks like. What does this look like on a vehicle? How does it get actually implemented? So we talked about the brain, the computer. In this picture, that's this HPC central SoC, system on chip. This is the brain computing platform that enables the actual computations to take place. That brain is connected physically through electrical connections to sensors on the car, which are like the human senses. So think about the camera, the connection between a camera sensor and Stella Brain, like the connection between your eyes and your brain. That is what establishes this processing pipeline between raw data of the car seeing the world and the compute that turns that data into meaning, into complex semantics to let the car figure out what to do. And also a physical connection to actuators. You can think of actuators as brakes, as steering systems, as physical ways in which the car navigates the environment, just like we have actuators, our hands, our feet, all of these things that actuate our motion in the real world. So that's how we implement the connection between what the car is seeing and executing in the world. And then above that world, you have the software world. So the way that gets implemented in the software is through an operating system. Now, it's a little bit unique than what you have on a computer or a phone, for example. It has to be certified for safety in a very particular way, compelling way, because safety is the most important thing in our designs for these systems. And then above that, we have middleware that does a lot of important engineering housekeeping items like synchronization and orchestration. And above that are all of the application layers that we talked about before. So autonomous driving is one. You have the cockpit area, which is another. But then we also have other things. We are also making a massive push towards electrification. So e-powertrain and energy management, that's another one. Connectivity, the interface, wireless interface, or the air interface between these applications and the outside world is also there. So this really shows you how fascinating the stack, the software stack, powered by the Stella Brain compute platform becomes. This really becomes, I would say, the most challenging and most sophisticated software, embedded software design and application, frankly, I think in our lifetime. And what's also fascinating is that you have the onboard component, which is shown in the blue here, and the offboard component, meaning, let's say, in the cloud, coexisting together. They're all connected together. And so you really are getting both worlds here working together in a very compelling way. I wanted to show you a little bit, a preview of what I mean, let's say, of AI in the smart cockpit. So now imagine that you're in a Jeep, and what's really cool about Jeep is this off-road component, the component of adventure. So imagine that you are in this smart cockpit, and as you're moving through this unstructured off-road environment, your car is able to understand what is happening and point out different interesting things. Like you see this yellow waypoint coming up, like it's telling you, hey, over here, that there's something really interesting in this off-road area. And what I think is really unique here is in this case, there's no like hints, oh, this is a highway with traffic lights, there's some structure I can use to understand what is happening. No, this smart cockpit is able to figure this out in a very unstructured, open type of environment, which is much harder, to be perfectly frank. So the message that I want to convey here is that because of the iconic nature of our brands, some of the challenges that we're tackling in AI and autonomous driving are even more complex and even more sophisticated than what you typically think of, let's say in the context of highway-based autonomous driving or something like that. So we really are bringing up a world-class team that is tackling some of the most challenging open questions in this area in the industry. And so I just wanted to give you a little bit of a preview of that. And even in this cockpit space, in this AI for cockpit space, there's so much that happens that is enabled by AI. This idea of personalization that I mentioned briefly before, the fact that your car understands you, gets to know you, is able to adjust things based on you and your preferences. Voice, we talked about our partner. We have a partnership with Amazon, and so the ability to leverage, for example, Alexa inside of a vehicle as well as all of these different things, contextual awareness, using these sensor capabilities inside of the car. All of this plays into the smart cockpit and the customer-centric user experience there. And as far as the auto driving capability goes, we have a really exciting history here. In 2024, the Stella Auto Drive product that I talked about is going to be released, and the team is very actively working on that too. And then we have activities across different levels of automation as well. Now, what I wanted to share a little bit with you also is how do we go about this? I talked a little bit about the cycle of onboard, offboard, but let's dig in a little bit and see how this actually works all together. So what's really exciting about having the vehicle that goes through the world and sees the world and gathers that data is that we can, through this connectivity that I talked about, upload that data offboard, let's say into a cloud environment, take that data in, and then look at it, see what is interesting about this data. What is this data teaching me that I didn't know before? And that's this process of data curation, right? Finding the interesting data that you want to look at. And then data labeling, literally teaching the car, hey, look at this aspect of this, let's say, camera picture. And then using that data to train new models. And then also using that data to simulate how the models will perform in different situations, replay it, see what would be different, how is it better than a model that you had previously. And then once you get something that's better and improved, you're able to complete the circle and actually deploy that model back onto the vehicle through this over-the-air update OTA process. And in this way, the car is continuously learning. That fleet is continuously getting better over time through the power of data and through the power of this AI development cycle. And so to summarize, I wanted to bring it full circle. What we are looking at here is really a strategy that is all about delighting the customers of our iconic brands. So a very customer-centric way to develop artificial intelligence and automated driving capabilities that is powered by these core tech platforms deployed at scale. So Stella Brain, the computer, Stella Auto Drive, the automated driving technology, and the smart cockpit. That's the AI for cockpit piece. And what is really exciting is that we are really, really focused on execution here because these things are very core to our business and our impact as a company. And we are partnering, having some very exciting partnerships in this space to solve for this. Ultimately, tremendous opportunity, tremendous growth opportunity, and we would love for you to join us on this exciting journey. I want to mention again that there will also be a Stellantis fireside chat, and so please join us there as well to learn more about us and what we're doing. And with that, I think I will wrap this up. So I think that this brings us right at time. And so I want to thank you guys for joining us today. Please feel free to reach out if you might have any additional questions for me. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your conference as well. Thank you so much.